On this channel, we look at the facts and the data behind each crypto project to help you cut through the hopium and make more informed decisions on which crypto projects might be right for you. So today, though, we're going to do something a little bit different. I've had a lot of comments and a lot of feedback in my office hours that you would like some more educational content and maybe some more information on what my investment strategy is. But to do that, I think it would be really good to understand kind of how I got into crypto because it formed how I look at the crypto market and it's kind of formed my success as well. So my first taste of crypto was back in 2017. I bought some Bitcoin, then got into Ethereum and did some Ethereum mining. And I really liked Ethereum because I saw a direct application for Ethereum, being able to build on top of a blockchain and provide useful products for people inside of crypto to solve problems that needed to be solved. And then my second bull run was when last cycle when the DeFi niche was really hot. And what I noticed was that there were lots of problems that needed to be solved by that time because the crypto market had matured and projects needed solutions, developers needed solutions, investors needed solutions as well. So the first project that I got into and started using was a project called Uniswap. And I'm sure you've heard of Uniswap. I got the airdrop and then I invested some additional money in it. And that's why I learned that fulfilling a market need was extremely valuable, right? Because if you can come up with a product that people use, then you basically are going to be successful, right? The second one I found was Wi-Fi. And this was a yield pool back in the DeFi days when yield pools were very popular. But what was unique about it was there were tons of these around, right? What was unique about this one was it was the fairest launch I had ever seen. And it was so fair, I was actually skeptical. Because back in those days, these were the ICO days, where ICOs were giving out huge allocations of tokens to the team, doing sketchy pre-sales. And for the most part, like people would just come out with a white paper with a roadmap. They might have good intentions, but they had no specific like solution that they were providing to the market. Some of these projects were too early, and some of these projects were just like total BS. I still remember this one project. It was supposed to be the Expedia of crypto, and they would do interviews with some of the team members, and these interviews had no substance. They would just talk about all this fairy tale stuff like, oh, we're going to do like X, Y, and Z. We're going to be so much bigger than Expedia, blah, blah, blah. But like it didn't tie to crypto at all. It didn't solve like a market need. So, that still resonates with me because even today I read white papers. And if you're not putting in like specific problems you're solving, it's all like very general BS, it's kind of a red flag. Now, it doesn't disqualify a project. It could just be an old white paper that they haven't updated. But still, like I would prefer to see some specific problem that you're solving because that's a good sign that your project's going to grow legs. The other thing I learned about Wi-Fi was that having a good team is extremely important. And to understand why having a good team is important, it's good to understand like the psychology of traders. Now, I'm a pretty risk adverse investor by nature. So as this token was doing well, I was starting to get nervous. Like, what happens if this thing crashes and I lose all my gains? Well, the team was continually executing. They're putting out great products, and that made me feel more comfortable about investing in the project. And what I realized is if I felt comfortable investing in it, a lot of other people did too. So there wasn't a ton of volatility in that project, compared to other crypto projects, just because of how good the team was at executing. The community believed in them, and they kept their money invested. So that was a phenomenal project where I learned a ton about how a good project should be done. And the third one that I really learned a lot from was Helium. It's a utility token that has little trackers. And the trackers were used for different things. I think they use them on line scooters, for example. And they also came out with a cellular hotspot that you could plug into your router. And by using it, you would earn rewards on the token. And it did really well. And that's where I kind of grew an affinity for utility tokens, and kind of saw that if you had a real world application, or even not a real world application, like if you had a application that was kind of tied to your token that was executed on well, then the project could do really well. And to be honest, it wasn't perfectly executed project even, but because it was a product and there were a lot of supply chain issues. But given the headwinds they had, it was done pretty well. So I did well on that token. But you might be asking, like, hey Kyle, why aren't you a multimillionaire yet? And the reason was, I'm not a perfect investor, and especially in the last cycle. And that's because I didn't put a lot of money in. Like I said, I'm pretty risk adverse, so I would put low amounts in. And there are a couple projects I put my money into. It didn't do very well, right? I think XRP is a good example. XRP did do well, but it didn't do as well as those other projects, just because XRP was a pretty high cap project. So I went back and kind of looked at my returns and where most came from. And those three were some of the best that I put my money into. And what I've done is this cycle is I built that model that tries to basically take all the good things, all the good features from all the other projects, kind of put them together and give you a more logical analysis of like why a project does well, right? To take some of the emotion out of trading. And I think at least picking projects. I think that's really important. Now, like, you're not going to pick a winner every time. I think during alt season, if you get in early enough, like, most things are going to go up. But how do we identify the projects that do exponentially better than other projects? And that's what I've tried to do this cycle. So the other thing I didn't do extremely well, but I realized I was above average on, was getting in and out of the market. So last two cycles, I would either sell too early or a little too late. Now, I avoided the crashes really well. I've had a lot of friends that held through the crash just because they're so convicted in the market. But one of the things that I really enjoy is macroeconomics. And I think that helped me get out of the market at the right times. But I think I could do better. So I've studied fundamental analysis and technical analysis, and I think this is where I might make some people angry. So there's two camps in crypto, right? There's the guys that say technical analysis doesn't work in crypto, and unfortunately they're wrong. There's a camp that says fundamental analysis doesn't work in crypto, and those guys are also wrong. And the reason I say that is if you look at investors, there are investors who do both well and they're successful, right? So my thesis is if you take both of them and put them together, you end up making more informed decisions, or decisions with more information. So you can have greater conviction, and it'll help you pick exit points better. And that brings up a good point. I put out a lot of stuff on market caps and where we might see the peak K speed. But you need to be careful about picking your exit points on market cap information and price points alone, because price points projections, they're just projections, and they don't tell you exactly where you are in the market cycle. Like, the market determines where these projects are going to go at any given time. So if you're making decisions based on these market cap projections, you might be leaving a lot of profits on the table. So it's important to use kind of macroeconomics and crypto cycle information for your exit points. So we'll do more of that. And if you're interested in keeping tabs on that, stay tuned in the future. I'll start to cover that a little more, especially if that's something of interest to you guys. So one more thing I wanted to mention is not all my research on each project makes it into the videos, just because it would be way too long. I add some nuggets in each of the Substack articles I put out. So if you're interested in seeing those, check out the Substack link below, and you can get that additional information on the additional research on each project. But I appreciate you guys. You guys have been awesome. Love your comments. Love your feedback. So please keep it up, and I'll see you on the next one.